prompt, I just want to go back to the original prompt. What we talked about is, how sometimes it's hard telling an owner no, or it's hard telling owners the truth of what they really need to hear. And what I've realized as a dog trainer, you know, growing up in the industry, right? It has a lot to do with your ability to explain and make things make sense, right? For example, like if I don't have the verbiage or the word or the ability or the schematic in my brain to explain something complicated in a simple form, then it kind of comes out as, well, you're a bad dog owner and you've been spoiling your dog and you need to stop spoiling your dog.
Right.
And it's that simple.
Either that
Right?
or a
It
bunch
comes
of
off,
jargon.
yeah, or it comes off as, well, the dominance and
Right.
you see what's happening. The pack leadership is really weak in the family. And in order for the dog to actually feel safe and secure, it just sounds like a textbook, or it sounds
Right.
like something. So there's a really easy way, and again, I take it back. It's not easy because it takes practice. It takes practice in learning how to speak to people, learning how to empathize, learning how to understand. Because there's been situations where I've been so heated, just upset at the client, and I go, well, we really need to focus on not putting the dog in that situation, and maybe the dog would not have reacted that way. And in my mind, I'm thinking, and you wouldn't be in this fucking position,
Right.
So sometimes by emotion, you have to learn also how to control that and empathize with the client, have compassion for the client, and know where they're coming from. Because sometimes when you lose sight of feeling for the human, the one who's paying you, the one who is, really, the one who is investing in this dog. That's why they called someone to help them with this dog. That's something that we forget. Sometimes we just go, you stupid dog owner, I can't believe you did this to this dog. It's so ridiculous. Like, I can't believe you let it get this far. But you got to remember, this person is trying to remedy the situation. This person is trying to have a better life and seek better options. That's why they called a freaking dog trainer.
Right.
Know?
Yeah, that's why you have a job. Yeah.
That's why we have a job. So we have to do right by the dog and make sure that we learn to speak to the humans very, very well.
Yeah.
If you're one of those dog trainers who are having trouble, a couple bits of advice that I'd give you, I would say, remember your goal. Remember your goal. Your goal is always to help the dog. The way that you help the dog is by showing empathy and compassion for the human without giving them permission to continue doing the bad things that they're doing still, but guiding them and giving them hope and giving them support and making them feel safe with you.
Mm-hmm.
That is the only way you'll be able to be effective as a dog trainer,
Mm-hmm.
right? And a lot of times, if you're insecure in your own knowledge base, keep learning. If you're insecure with, maybe the right vernacular or the right verbiage to use to explain something complicated or complex, write it out. I think it's really important for you to write something out and know what you sound like and know what it sounds like, right? Like situations like this, there's so many times I would record myself explaining something and I'd hear it back and I'd go, oh, that was crap.
Right. What the hell did I just say?
Yeah, or I would go, you know what? That was dope. I can't believe I sound like that. Or I didn't know that my thought put into words sounded like that.
Right.
And so it's really important for us to, the same way a dancer practices dancing or the same way a gymnast practices a routine, you have to learn to not just speak on the fly, but make sure that whatever knowledge it is that you have, make sure that you're able to explain something complex very simply. And if you can do that, you'll be an effective educator.
Yeah.
And that includes being able to tell people no when you need to, and they're wrong when you need to. Because remember, it's all for your dogs.
Right. And here's like a helpful tip, to be a little more practical about it is, I'm an introvert. I'm a huge introvert. Hopefully that doesn't come across on camera. But, and like in training, I think I do a great job dealing with clients because it's my job and I can speak to people. We both read that book with Brene Brown where she's like, in the context of work, I can talk all day. But just in and of myself, I don't really, I can do it. I'm good at it, but it doesn't energize me.
Right.
So the way that I feel, like when I feel good, I have no problem. When I'm tired or stressed or naturally speaking, it gets harder. But I practice it. So the tip is, do practice with. There are ways to actually practice speaking to people. There are books and there are different little techniques that you can do. Um, certain like phraseology and flexion, like all these fun little things that you can play with when it comes to the language that you speak. And so
Right.
when I'm not feeling it and it's just not coming to me intuitively, I lean on it, from like a technical standpoint. I'm all right, well, I know I can do this and do that. And then naturally conversations have that kind of flow to you're not feeling it, but you're doing it right, so it still gets better. And then once it's better, now you are feeling it, so then you just go.
100%.
Right. So that's
100%.
that's a fun one. And I think that when we talk about not getting angry at the client, the way that I try to look at things is, I try not to look at it as like understand where they're coming from. I try to look at it as like understand where they're trying to get, and
I love that.
and
That's great.
I tell people all the time, especially 'cause all the different things that we do, the rescue game, the I'm a board member for
Breeders.
Yeah.
The breeders, the rescues, the shelters.
Yeah.
Like we're the middleman for all of these, the owners,
Yeah.
like we're in the middle.
And so for all these things, I always tell people, listen, ultimately, we all want the same thing, and you can't lose sight of that. And I understand that you may be stressed out right now, but we're both pushing
Right.
in the exact same direction, so there's not really supposed to be friction between us. So that's a tough one, I think, and I think emotional intelligence is the big one. When you get angry at somebody, it's like, why are you so mad? It's ultimately you're working on it. That's like you said, this is why you're here. This is why you have a job. You should be grateful. You should be present. You should, put yourself aside
Yep.
for the good of these people.
And that right then and there, or what you just said, I think is what most young, passionate dog trainers need to really understand. It's separating the emotion control, because the reason we become dog trainers is because we fucking love dogs. We love dogs. We're protective of dogs. We want to advocate for animals. We want to save them. We want to do all these things. But just always remember, the only way you'll be able to save the dog is by learning how to speak to their human. And I love the point, and this is something to your credit, Mariano. You have a very different style of speaking to people than I do. I'm more of like a entertainer. I like to really connect and be intimate. You have a wonderful way of being direct, being concise, being logical, being empathetic, and it's like this wonderful ability that you have to just get to the point and motivate people to go forward. That's the thing.
Well, cut the fluff. That's always been my thing, Cut the fluff.
I'm the
in a
master
way
of fluff. But I'm the master of fluff. I love fluff. I love making people feel warm. I love making people feel hope. I love making people feel all these things. And that's just the difference in our styles. And I think we're both very effective in the way that we work. But yeah, I think it's really good for people, whoever's watching this. We see two different styles that are both effective.
Yeah, well, let me say this, and I don't want anybody watching this to be like, these guys are annoyingly like patting each other on the back. But I'm going to say this because since you described my speaking style, I feel like that could be, because I don't know, like I don't ever quantify the way that I talk to people, so I don't have the words to explain it to somebody, like how I would approach someone.
Right.
But I think that it's valuable information though. Like as I hear you say it, I'm like, oh, okay, well, yeah, that's, so for anybody listening, this is Brent's talking style. He says fluff. It's not fluff. He has a way of using words in a way that like really capture an emotion. And you can see, I've been in the room with him, I don't know how many times, where he's evaluating, I learned from him. So I would sit there and watch them talk, and I can see the owners go from this emotion to he starts saying what he's saying, and then they're like, oh shit. And then, he's building it in such a way that it's like a movie. It's crazy. And it's like this ride almost, there's definitely a place for that as well. And so, again, I want people to know that these things work. And I think that what makes it work in your case is you still dance that fine line, because you and I have seen, even just with the people we worked with together, like directly, there are people who attempt this, who either...
And it comes off ass kissy.
It either comes off ass kissy or it comes off textbooky, and that's because they don't put the emotion into it. Because you're, when I say like emotion, it's not all good. You're not afraid to like tell people like it is either. That emotional ride can go either way. And so when people say the words without the like, yeah, it's a big deal because blah, blah, they don't connect with it. And I can see it kind of falling flat with the owners, and they feel like they're being bullshitted.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's great to hear, man. Thanks for, you do something and you kind of don't have the outside perspective, so I appreciate that. So anyways, I guess for those of you young dog trainers who, are working on your skills and your communication skills, practice, write it down. Take something that you felt was difficult to explain to a client the day before and just talk to your phone camera like this. Explain it to them. And what's going to happen is you cannot be, it's just like anything else creatively, songwriting, script writing, storytelling, whatever it is. One of my clients is a screenwriter for a lot of TV shows you guys have seen. And I asked her, I said, how do you write episodic television every day? And she goes, to be honest, most of it's shit. She goes, but under that shit is gold. And you can't be scared to write the shit. You can't be scared to just keep writing, right? And so I would challenge you guys, if you guys are working on your speaking skills and your teaching skills, I would challenge you to say, you know what? Keep practicing. You can write shit down if that's what you're comfortable with. You can speak to a camera just like this and listen to your playback and be like, oh, I actually said that pretty good, or I would adjust this.
Can I interject real quick? Sorry. I would recommend doing both, though. So, like, if you prefer one or the other, cool. But do them both, because when you, at least for me, I can speak on the fly, but when I write things out, they feel more thoughtful. There's less, likes and ums and
they're more concise. They're more
Yeah,
concise.
there's less, verbal crutch stuff going on, and it'll get your point across. And when we talk about writing things down, we're not saying, write out a script and then bark the script at the owner, because that comes across as...
Right.
You're not talking to them, you're talking at them. Like, you ever seen a person in, a middle school class try to give a speech that they memorized? It's, talk to your client. When you write stuff down, it's just so that you retain the information better, because you're actively writing it and then rereading it because you're writing it, and so you'll have it right there, on the tip of your tongue. But talk to them and read them, engage them. It's a conversation.
100%. I love that. We really hope that this podcast was helpful for you guys. Those of you who are scared to talk to your clients the way they need to be talked to in order to get to what we need to get for the dog. Awesome. Again, my name is Brent LaBrada.
My name's Mariano.
Cool, and we hope to see you guys on our next episode or next podcast. Check us out. We'll see you later.
See you soon.